Right, and this is the Law Challenge 2019, and we are at the semi-final stage, and this is the contest between the University of Cape Coast and Central University faculties of law. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for our bold contestants.
Here's innovation from Goyle that takes you further. New Goyle Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes have been expertly crafted with the latest in liquid engineering technology, highly advanced for modern engines, prolongs oil change intervals, save you fuel, clean, protect and enhance engine performance. The way engines work has become complex, and Goyle has innovated to stay ahead with expertly crafted lubricants that work excellently with all petrol and diesel engines of today. New Goyle Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. Innovation that takes you further. Goyle. Good energy.
Ever pure purified drinking water. Always pure, ever refreshing.
We proceed right away to the first round of the semi-final contest, and this will be all-round questions. You may get questions that are problems for you to solve. We test your ability to give advice as a lawyer. And then it will be a mixed bag. So you will have 5 questions. You have 30 seconds to answer a question. A question answered correctly will attract the maximum marks of 10. And if you are unable to, it will go on to the next team as a bonus, attracting 5 marks for a correct answer. And that will be for 15 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are ready, let's get going. And beginning from the Central University Faculty of Law, Ato is a 14-year-old who had completed junior high school, entered into an agreement with Pope Kelvin. Pope Kelvin should be a faithful person. His name is Pope. A master carpenter to learn the carpentry trade. The 14-year-old Ato completed learning the carpentry trade within 3 years. After successfully passing his NVTI trade test exams in carpentry, Atto now refuses to pay Pope Kelvin for the training he has had as an apprentice. Is Atto bound by the agreement he entered with Pope Kelvin to pay for the training he had from his master? If yes, explain. If no, explain. Yes, Makion.
Atto is bound by the contract with Pope Kelvin because as a minor, one of the contracts that minors can enter into and are bound by are contracts or beneficial contracts of service. And in this case, Atto is learning is an apprentice under Pope John, and therefore, based on this rule, he is bound by the contract with Pope
That
Kelvin.
is absolutely correct. Yes, he may be an infant. He's bound by the agreement. It is an agreement to learn a trade. And as the terms of the contract construed as a whole are substantially to benefit Atto, who is an infant. Now to the University of Cape Coast. And here is your question. Testing your ability to offer advice on what may constitute criminal offense or may not. Kwame Abochi, a student at a university on his way to lectures, finds a wallet containing an appreciable amount of money on the footpath leading to the lecture hall. You may be lucky from this contest. When you go back, you will find a wallet full of money. What shall you do with it? So, the wallet had a passport picture of a person not known to him. You are training to be a lawyer, so you have to have integrity. What will you do with it? He kept the wallet for 3 days. On the 4th day, he was seen with the wallet by a friend of the owner of the wallet. But guess what? No money was in the wallet. Has Kwame Abochi committed any offense? If yes, tell us. If no, tell us. Benedicta, yes.
Kwame Abochi has committed the offense, even though there is no money in the wallet. But by virtue of Section 125, which states dishonest appropriation, that a person may dishonestly appropriate a thing with the intent to defraud, or where there are marks or features on the thing that shows that that shows the owner of the person. In that case, since there was a picture of the owner in the wallet, even though there is no money, but the wallet could be seen to be an item, and so it could amount to dishonest
Absolutely fabulous. Yes, he has committed the offense of stealing through appropriation and appropriating so dishonestly as he failed to make reasonable inquiry to discover the owner and went ahead to spend the money. Let us learn to be people of integrity, particularly those of us learning in this particular profession. Of course, it's to everybody. To the Central University, your question. Kwame, he is also known as Ogbo Nana. He met one Selassie under the tunnel of the overhead bridge at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle here in Accra at about 9:30 p.m. when he was returning from church and took away the bag belonging to Selassie containing hundreds of cedis and other valuables by threat of violence using a knife, a dagger. A police patrol team managed to arrest him after an alarm was raised by Selassie. Obviously, Kwame has committed a criminal offense. What offense has he committed?
Simplicity, Kwame has committed robbery. And then it's in the sense that he actually stole, and then he didn't just steal, he stole with a weapon.
And that is fantastic. Correct for all the points. To the University of Cape Coast. Let's see if your criminal law is as good as your law on contracts. In Ghana, a person is eligible to vote in an election if he or she is 18 years of sound mind and is above. What is the minimum age for enforcing contractual relations in Ghana? Is it 18? If it's not, tell us what it is. Yes, Benedicta.
Specifically, there is no statute that expressly stipulates the contract age for minors, but relying on the Companies Act 1963, Act 179, it purges the age at which a minor may enter into a contract at 18 years, and therefore contracts are enforceable at the age of 18 years.
Yes, I hear and I see all of you nodding in support of her. You haven't finished your rendition, you have been bailed out. Unfortunately, that answer is incorrect. For a bonus, Ernest Kofi Boateng, what will be the age at which you can enforce a contract?
The minimum age for enforcing a contract on a minor is 21 years.
That is correct. Benedicta was correct when she said there is no statute expressing that. But this country has kept the common law, and that age is 21. That is the minimum age of contracting. To the Central University Faculty of Law, when does frustration occur in a contract? Yes, Patrick.
Frustration occurs in a contract when there is an impossibility of performance, and then there are so many into it. The first is when the subject matter of the contract is frustrated, and then the second one is when the venue or it's not an occurrence, the failure for an occurrence of an event and then an act of God, which is force majeure.
That will be correct, but I shall award 8 of the 10 marks. Frustration occurs whenever the law recognizes that without default of the either party, you need to state that the other party has not committed any wrong, has not failed to perform the contract by virtue of their own default, that the performance of the obligation in the contract has become impossible because of circumstances that you clearly, correctly describe to include force majeure, as we will say, an act of God. And it renders the contract radically different from that which was undertaken in the contract. Thank you very much. University of Cape Coast, what is described as an illegal contract? When do we say in law that the contract is an illegal one? Yes, James?
Contract is illegal when it is contradictory to a statute.
A contract may be termed as an illegal contract when performance of it becomes abhorrent by virtue of a statute, by virtue of common law principles, and by virtue of public interest.
And that is correct for the full points. The contract is illegal because it is prohibited by law, statutes, or it is contrary to public policy. That's what you intended to say. It has no effect because it's an illegal contract. You cannot contract to kill. And clearly, it will be unenforceable by the courts. Central University Faculty of Law. The Americans have told Ghanaians in the PDS saga that there must be a respect for the sanctity of contracts. What do you understand by the doctrine of sanctity of contract? Yes, Patrick?
Sanctity of contract is when parties are expected to honor their obligations under the contract, and such contracts do not frown upon any statutes or laws in the country.
And it also means that parties have to observe the principle of pacta sunt servanda.
Servanda.
Yeah.
Pacta sunt servanda.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I will give you 8 of the 10 marks. Because you have the notions correct, but I expect an introduction of the fact that the courts cannot intervene and substitute any other interpretation of the contractual intentions of the parties, but must clinically give effect to what the parties have themselves contracted to do. Pacta sunt servanda, the parties must be acting in good faith, utmost good faith. So thank you for your answer. We must all learn to respect the contracts we enter into. Now to the University of Cape Coast Faculty of Law. Here is your question, still talking about contracts. And please, Benedicta, get precise to it because I know you are capable of that. What do we mean in contracts by contra preferentem rule? That rule, what do we mean by it?
Contra preferentem rule is an exclusion clause, and it is one of the ways of enforcing an exclusion clause, which means that where an agreement has been written between the parties and there is any ambiguity, it will be construed against the person seeking to rely on it.
And that is absolutely correct. Central University Faculty of Law. What was the principle in the case of Ametewe versus the state? Kofi Boateng.
In the case of Ametewe versus the state, it talks about transferred intent, in that when someone intends on committing harm on someone, on let's say A, and then it hits B, that is what we mean by transferred intent. The intent to which the actus reus was committed is transferred to that of from A to B.
That is also correct. But gentlemen, this is the profession of the law. This is the study of the law. Remember to always keep to the language. Precision to the language. There must be some intents to commit a particular criminal offense and actually proceeding to commit it, but accidentally another person or another crime results. Is that correct? All right, thank you very much. So if a person intends to harm, assault, or kill a person, but accidentally harms, assaults, or kills a third person who was not intended, was not the target. He intended to harm, assault, or kill. That is the principle. University of Cape Coast. Here is your question. What's the rule in the Taquan's case? Yes, James.
The rule in Taquan case states that third parties are not to ascertain whether the officers of the company or organs of the company have complied with the internal rules. If they don't have notice of that particular, if they don't have any notice of the rules, in case they contract with the company, they are entitled to enforce the contract against the company.
And that is correct. Simply put, if I come to your company to deal business with and someone in your company deals with me, I am not supposed to know your internal rules. So later, if you say that what the person dealt with me is one that you do not approve of, I'm sorry, but I am not supposed to know. Or that the person did not comply with some rules in your company, I am not supposed to know them. So third parties are not required to ascertain if all procedures of the company have been complied with, if all powers exercised by officers of the company are properly exercisable, and if all terms and conditions set out in the company's regulations have been fulfilled. On that note of the very brilliant exhibition of your knowledge of contract criminal law, we have come to the end of the first round of this competition between the University of Cape Coast and Central University.
Here's innovation from Goyle that takes you further. New Goyle Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes have been expertly crafted with the latest in liquid engineering technology, highly advanced for modern engines, prolongs oil change intervals, save you fuel, clean, protect and enhance engine performance. The way engines work has become complex, and Goyle has innovated to stay ahead with expertly crafted lubricants that work excellently with all petrol and diesel engines of today. New Goyle Super Synthetic 5W20 and 5W30 lubes. Innovation that takes you further. Goyle. Good energy.
You're welcome back, and this is the Law Challenge 2019. And at the end of the first round, in the semi-final stage between University of Cape Coast and Central University Faculty of Law, the results are UCC 40 points, Central University 51 points. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's proceed to round two, the buzzer round. And in the buzzer round, we talk criminal law, contract tort company, the Ghana legal system, and what have you. In a special way, I attempt to describe something or someone, maybe, and your job is to press your buzzer. And University of Cape Coast, how does yours sound? Great. Central University? Right, you press that and call my attention that you have the correct answer to the 6 questions that will come up. And you have 30 seconds to deliver your answer. If you get it correctly, you get 10 marks. But most unfortunately, if you get it wrongly, incorrectly, you lose 5 marks. Let's get ready. I am a statement of law, which means something said by the way of a chance. Ernest Kofi Boateng.
Obiter dicta.
Obiter dicta, and that is correct. I continue my statement. I am a statement of law, which means something said by the way or a chance remark. I am of 2 kinds. I am a statement of law based upon the facts which either were not found to exist or, if found to exist, were not found to be material. I also am a statement of law which, although based on the facts as found, did not form the basis of the court's decision. And that is correct. So here is the second statement. Ladies and gentlemen, listen carefully and have the patience to be able to decipher what or who is in contention. I am a tort concerned essentially with conduct which is an affront of another's property or title in a chattel. I seek to protect a person's ownership, control, and general dominion over them. There are three main ways by which I had PIP. Yes, that was University of Cape Coast. Yes, who is answering? Nicholas?
Conversion.
That is correct. Conversion. There are three main ways by which I may deprive another of their chattel and thereby open myself to an action. These three ways are by wrongly taking it, by wrongly detaining it, by wrongly disposing of it. And you are correct. Conversion. To the third statement, and listen carefully, lady and gentlemen, once again. I am classified as first degree felony. My elements to be proved when a person is accused are the following. The offense was intentional. Central University, Kofi Boateng. Yes, Patrick?
Stealing.
That is incorrect. Please keep listening. My elements to be proved when a person is accused are the following. The offense was intentional. The offense has caused the death of another. The harm was unlawful. The harm was caused by the accused person. Yes, University of Cape Coast, Nicholas.
Murder.
Murder, and that is correct. Now to the fourth statement, and once again, listen carefully. I am a person who is broadly defined as one who is interested or has been... Yes, University of Cape Coast, James.
Promoters.
That is correct. Promoters. So let me continue and finish with a statement. A person who is interested or has been engaged in the formation of a company. Some of my duties and liabilities are as follows. I stand in a fiduciary relationship to the company. I observe utmost good faith towards the company. Compensate the company for any loss suffered by reason of any of my failings. I account for profits, for property or information in such circumstances which should have benefited the company and not me. What a way to chew a definition and to preempt such a question. Now to your fifth statement. Once again, listen carefully so your answer might be correct. I am one of the important inventions of equity. Is anybody pressing? Whenever I am created, the nominal title to a property is held by one person and the equitable right is vested in another person. Central University, Patrick.
Trust.
And that is correct. Let me continue and finish with my statement. The subject matter for whose purpose I am created may either be movable or immovable. My distinct feature is quality of ownership. One person is a legal owner and another person is the equitable owner. And that is correct. I am a trust. Now to the sixth and very final statement. I am one of the vitiating factors recognized by law which could negate the apparent consent of one or both parties to a contract and thus render a contract unenforceable. Nobody has pressed. One has to be wrong. Yes, University of Cape Coast, Benedicta.
Mistake.
And that is correct. Mistake. So let me continue. One has to be wrong to a matter of fact that influences the formation or the making of a contract. For me to have any effect at all, I must be present or have existed at the time the contract was concluded. The assumption made by a party or the parties must have been factually wrong at the time the contract was concluded. Yes, I am a mistake. Okay, and on that leading note, we come to the end of the second round. Here we are with the results of the second round of the semi-final between the Central University and Cape Coast University faculties of law. And Central University, 15 points. University of Cape Coast, 40 points. Cumulatively, Central University has 66 points, and University of Cape Coast has 80 points. A round of applause for the contestants. Now to the third round, and this is the round of profound quotes and identification. You will have 3 quotations read out to you. You'll identify who they are attributed to, and I may require you to tell me in which case these quotations may be found. You have 20 seconds to do that. And if you answer correctly, you get 15 marks for that correct answer. This round, you have 1 opportunity, and it is also non-transferable. Now, if you're ready, let's begin with the very first quotation. Central University Faculty of Law. Danger invites rescue. The cry of distress is the summons to relief. Who said this and in which case? Yes, Kofi Boateng.
Cardoso J. in Wagner, in the case of Wagner.
And that is correct. To the University of Cape Coast, and still within the field of thoughts. The rule that you are to love your neighbor becomes in law, you must not injure your neighbor. And the lawyer's question is, who is my neighbor? The answer seems to be persons who are so closely and directly affected by my acts that I ought reasonably to have them in contemplation as being so affected when I am directing my mind to the acts or omissions which are called in question. Who is speaking? Yes, to James.
Lord Atkin in Donogo versus Stevenson.
And that is correct, Lord Atkin. Now to the Central University Faculty of Law. Here is your question or statement. Identify the case in which His Lordship Justice Dateba of the Supreme Court of Ghana made this statement. It is against the spirit of the Constitution for Parliament to grant to the minister the authority which Parliament itself had received by delegation from the Constitution. This is against the sound policy implied in the maxim delegatus non potest delegare. Yes, Central University, Ernest Kofi Boateng.
Chachuchikata number 2 verses AG.
That is incorrect. It is the case of Asare versus Attorney General in the citizenship case. Why, Patrick? You knew the answer, but you decided not to give it. Okay. So, University of Cape Coast. Who is speaking and in which case? Save as otherwise restricted by its regulations. A company, after its registration, has all the power of a natural person of full capacity to pursue its authorized business. Who is speaking and in which very famous case? Yes, James.
In the case of Monko versus Kuma.
That is correct. And as students of the law, let's give the answer in the complete terms. Sophia Akufu, JSC, or Her Ladyship Sophia Akufu, as she then was. In the case of Moko versus Kuma, East Coast Fisheries case. Your turn, Central University. Who made this statement in Salah versus Attorney General? A justice of the panel said, so I quote, constitutions, written or unwritten, have one significant quality. That quality is the element of predictability. Who was speaking in Salah versus Attorney General? Yes, Patrick.
Amwasachi.
That is incorrect.
That is Akins.
Not correct. That is Archer. Justice Archer. University of Cape Coast. Justice Apollo is speaking. In which case, no court is contaminated by bad language, and I ought not to feel the sense of inhibition which both counsels seem to have felt when it came to reading aloud the words alleged to have been used by the defendant. What was proved was that the defendant spoke and published of the plaintiff that her vagina stinks, unquote. This statement is attributed to Justice Apollo. Which case was he speaking? In which case? Yes, University of Cape Coast, Nicholas.
The Renchwa case.
And that is correct. Wenchua versus Wireduewa and another. Now, ladies and gentlemen, who is on your screen? Central University. Who is on your screen? Yes, Ernest Kofi Boateng.
Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice, Sophia A.B. Akufu.
And that is correct. Comprehensive. Very comprehensive. University of Cape Coast. Who is this personality in the legal fraternity? Who is that?
Justice Archer.
Justice Archer. On that very, I must say, poor note, Godfred Yeboah Dame, Deputy Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana. And that's the end of the third round.
Ever pure purified drinking water. Always pure, ever refreshing.
Welcome back, and this is the Law Challenge 2019, and at the end of the third round, University of Cape Coast 45 points and Central University 30 points. Up to this point, the total marks are represented as follows. University of Cape Coast 125 and Central University 96. A round of applause for them. And as you know, this is the round of salvation. And that is for you, Central University. In this rapid fire round, you nominate a member to represent you. I ask as many as 10 questions, and you are expected to give me the response, either it is true or false, within 120 seconds. If you get it correct, you get 5 marks awarded in favor of your team. And if within the time, 120 seconds, you have exhausted your questions but have not exhausted your time, if you skipped any question, you have the opportunity to answer that question. The Central University, your time starts now. In a negligence case, what are the elements a party needs to prove in his suit? Duty of care, breach of duty, resultant damage, true or false?
True.
That is true. How would you distinguish the elements of stealing from robbery? Robbery is by the use of threat or force, while stealing is not. True or false? That is true. In what one instance does the action of an agent not bind his principal? When the agent goes on a frolic of his own. True or false?
True.
What is the meaning of the term occupier's liability? Is it the duty of care owed by the owner of property to those who occupy real property through lease or visit or trespass? That is it. True or false?
False.
That is true. The Constitution 1992 of Ghana provides for the offense of high crime which arises out of a failure to carry out the terms of an order or direction of a court. True or false?
It's false.
That is false. It must be of the Supreme Court. In Caparo Industries versus Dickman, the court established the principle that auditors of a public company owe a duty to the public who relied on their report to buy shares in a company. True or false? That is true. A fixed charge is a charge over the assets of a company. True or false?
True.
That is false. The postal rule principle was first established in the English case of Adams and Linsell. True or false?
True.
That is true. A document which sets out the purpose of a company and defines the limitations of its power, the powers of a company, as defined, and defines the rights of powers of organs of the company is called its constitution or regulation. True or false?
True.
Okay. A child of not more than 16 years of age found in Ghana whose parents are not known shall be presumed to be a citizen of Ghana. True or false?
True.
That is true. And that was a very good performance. Now, let's have the University of Cape Coast Faculty of Law. And your time begins now. One of the functions of the National Commission for Civic Education is to educate and encourage the public to defend the Constitution. True or false?
True.
That is true. The presiding member of the District Assembly is the leader of the Assembly. True or false?
True.
That is true. A District Assembly shall have deliberative, legislative, and executive powers within the district. True or false?
True.
That is false. Article 222 of the 1992 Constitution provides for the property rights of spouses. True or false? That is true. A private company is empowered to raise capital from the public. True or false?
False.
That is false. Notice for the meeting to remove a director or auditor must be 21 days. True or false?
True.
That is false. The regulations of a company may be altered by ordinary resolution. True or false?
False.
That is false. In a claim of defamation, the elements the claimant must prove include false statement in reference to the claimant and publication. True or false?
True.
That is true. In which English case gives the classical definition of a share as a company? Is it Bolland's Trustees versus Steel Bros? True or false?
False.
That is true. When the action of an agent are binding on the principal, there is an issue of vicarious liability. True or false?
False.
True. Even though I paused, I exhausted your 10 questions. And on the note of that, also equally good performance, we come to the end of the final round in this semi-final. And at the end of the fourth round, in the context, in this semi-final between the Central University and the University of Cape Coast Law Faculty, Central University, 40 points. University of Cape Coast, 30 points. All the rounds 1 through to 4 put together. Central University, 136 points. University of Cape Coast, 155 points. So without a doubt, the winner is the University of Cape Coast. And this has been the Law Challenge, spreading the fragrance of the law. It's been brought to you by the candid sponsorship of Alisa Hotels, EPP Book Services, Discover the World of Books, Note Cosmetics, Websys Technology, The Web Guys, Busy, Great Things Happen, Logistic Movers, We Help You Relocate, Goyle, Good Energy, Everpure, Always Everpure, Ever Refreshing, Agate Enterprise and Transport Services, and of course, Media General. Of course, you can link up with the Law Challenge on social media, on Instagram at Law Challenge GH, on Twitter at The Law Challenge, and on Facebook, The Law Challenge. The Law Challenge. We meet you again.